Hello everyone, I'm Peter. Welcome to our space for true stories. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. We will select the best comments to send to the original poster op of the real Reddit story. We hope your insights help them overcome their challenges. Thank you for being part of our community. Please sit back and enjoy today's story. AITA for threatening to end things with my long-term boyfriend because he wants to work with his ex. This is driving me a bit crazy. My boyfriend, let's call him Isaac, has his own podcast. It's finally starting to blow up a bit. For privacy and literal reasons, I'll be involved in some episodes, so I won't name the show or podcast. He also has a YouTube channel that's recently gained a decent following. He's not famous, but he's finally starting to get recognized. I used to be the main co-host, but I've been so busy with work lately that I can't be on the show much anymore. Obviously, you can't have a podcast with just one person. That's boring. So Isaac told me he found someone to co-host more regularly when I'm not available. I told him that was great and asked who it was. He said her name was Abigail and sent me her Instagram. It seemed like he wasn't hiding anything, so everything was fine. But about a week later, we were having dinner with our group of friends when Josh, Isaac's best friend, casually said in front of everyone that he was surprised at how cool I was with Isaac working with his ex. Needless to say, my reaction was the complete opposite of cool. I was more upset that Isaac lied to me than anything else. Why did he feel the need to lie about something like that? I like to think I'm pretty chill about these things. Would I feel uncomfortable? Yes. But the show is recorded in the apartment Isaac and I share, and I really don't think he's cheating on me. We're really serious and have been talking about marriage recently. But the fact that he lied, that's the first red flag he's ever really shown me, and it makes me feel weird about the whole thing. When we got home, I made him talk to me about it. A year before meeting me, he met Abigail and had a friends with benefits relationship with her. Apparently, he ended things with her because he wanted something more serious, something with a label, and she didn't. Again, not really a big deal or a red flag, but he still lied to me. And the way his best friend said it, like the idea of it was unbelievable, made me think there was more to the story. I told Isaac I wasn't comfortable with him working with Abigail because if he felt the need to lie to me about working with his ex, it probably wasn't a good idea. He said he really needed someone to co-host regularly if I couldn't, and I told him he'd have to find someone else because I wasn't comfortable with this. I told him maybe I would have been fine if he hadn't lied, but he blew that chance. I even went as far as to say if he kept talking to her, I might have to reconsider our relationship. He finally agreed, but he's been giving me the silent treatment for the past few days. Our friends know what happened because of the dinner conversation. Now it's a 50-50 split. Some of my friends think I should cut him some slack, that he didn't mean to lie. They say Isaac's a good guy and didn't want to hurt my feelings, but I feel really bad about this. Now I'm worried I really overreacted. Stuff like this has happened before, now that I think about it. But a lot of our friends say I'm overreacting to a small mistake, and maybe they're right. Looking back, little things like this have happened in the past. But the thing is, I love Isaac. I'm willing to keep trying for him. I just can't shake this uneasy feeling in my gut. The friends on my side think I should keep talking to him about this, but I don't even know what to say anymore. I really need some advice. To everyone jumping straight to breaking up, I want you to know I really love this man. We've been together for 4 years. We have a child, okay, it's a cat, but still. I understand ending things might be the only option, but right now, I'm more focused on advice than hearing how I should end things. Isaac has been with me through the hardest time of my life, losing my sister. He's strong, kind, and in the best way possible, he's a goofball. If breaking up becomes necessary, we'll cross that bridge. But for now, I need some brutal honesty and advice on what I should say to him. He has another job since, let's face it, We can't survive on just my income and the podcast. He's at work today, and I'm working tonight. I only have an hour to talk to him, and I want to have a long conversation, so I'll wait until I'm off on Friday. I don't know exactly what I'll say yet, but I'll figure it out. Thanks for all the replies, and I'll make sure to update. Update number 1. I hope this reaches everyone who saw and commented on my post. First of all, I want to thank you all so much. For those of you who helped me come up with questions to ask him, I can't thank you enough. I was diagnosed with severe anxiety when I was 10 years old. I spent the whole morning pacing back and forth, having a mild anxiety attack before talking to him. Normally, things like this make me break down, no matter how big or small. But I'm proud to say I stood my ground. This morning he brought me coffee, as he almost always does. He's been talking to me more, but there's still this weird distance between us. He brought me the coffee, kissed my forehead, and we had breakfast. He told me about work, and everything felt perfect, but deep down I knew it wasn't. That uneasy feeling wasn't going away unless I brought up Abigail. So, as bluntly as I could, I said, "We need to talk." Isaac tensed up and finally nodded, surprising me when he said, "I know." A point for anxiety. We talked for about 2 hours. I'll summarize our conversation. The first thing I asked was how long they'd been in contact. He told me they met because of a psychology class in college and were in the same study group. This checked out. I know he's still close with that old study group. Some of his best friends are from that group. Josh is one of them. He told me they stayed in touch through that group chat, but hadn't talked one-on-one until recently. The second thing I asked was why he didn't tell me. I teared up a bit when I asked him, and he immediately started apologizing profusely. I told him it hurt to hear it from Josh and not him. He said, and I quote, "I didn't think it was a big deal. I know that's stupid, but it didn't cross my mind." He told me they're not close friends, and she seemed like a good substitute for me until I could get back to being more active on the show. I asked why he wanted her and why she was the first person he thought of, and he explained that he wanted to do more episodes focused on life/class topics from college and study strategies, and she'd be a good fit for that since she was a part of his life during that time. He told me he loved me and never meant to hurt me. He admitted he knew it might make me uncomfortable, so he chose not to tell me because he knew how anxious I get. I was pissed and told him that wasn't his choice to make. He agreed with me, apologized again, and promised not to keep things from me anymore. He added that Abigail would never appear on the podcast, and he never wanted to make me uncomfortable on purpose. I agreed and said I didn't want her on the podcast. Then things took a turn. I thought it was going great, we agreed, and everything seemed fine. I had a little closure, and he seemed content. But then he asked me something I couldn't have predicted. There's something else. She sent me nudes. What the hell? I felt my heart break a little, and asked how he responded. He showed me the texts. They were 2 days old. He had replied with a single message, "I appreciate it, but I have a girlfriend." But he didn't block her. I asked him to cut contact with her, and he pushed back, saying it would make things awkward with his friend group. I argued that I'm his damn girlfriend, and yeah, the situation is awkward. I asked how he'd feel if Josh sent me nudes and he got it. He admitted he'd cut ties with him and expects me to do the same. He nodded and agreed to block her. I watched him block and delete her contact. I still didn't feel satisfied. He'd seen those messages 2 days ago and didn't tell me. That was my breaking point. I basically said, maybe honesty doesn't mean as much to you as it does to me, but if one of your friends sent me nudes, I'd tell you within minutes. I kept going and started crying, and so did he. He kept apologizing, saying he didn't bring it up to me because he felt like I was avoiding him and wanted to wait until he knew I was ready to talk. That's bull because he'd been giving me the silent treatment. I hadn't been thinking about breaking up in my last post, but now? I don't know. I know this isn't the update you all wanted, and I promise there will be another. I told him I needed space, and I'm someone who rarely sets boundaries for myself until I'm truly upset. He apologized and tried to hold me, but I pulled back. I'm writing this from my best friend's place. I'm staying with her for the night. I told Isaac we could talk again in a few days, but right now, I need to think everything through. The thing is, he cried when I started talking about ending things. Isaac doesn't cry. The only time I've seen him cry in our 4-year relationship was when his mom died. He loves me, I know he does. But I feel so betrayed. Maybe I'm overreacting, but right now, I just feel hurt. I'm sorry, and I know this isn't the update you all wanted. But thank you all. If you want to give me advice, please do. I don't know where to go next, and I still have questions I want to ask him. I'm also okay with answering questions. I'll try to update if anything else happens, whether it's good or bad. And for anyone wondering, yes, I brought our cat. Update number 2. Sorry it's been so long since I posted. A lot has happened, and honestly, I don't know where to start, but I'll start with this. We broke up. I finally got in contact with Abigail. Some of the comments suggested it might be smart, so I reached out to her on Instagram and asked for her side of the story. At first, she didn't know who I was. Then she seemed surprised I reached out to her. She recognized who I was based on what Isaac had told her, but according to her, he said we'd only started dating last month, not 4 years ago. That information really threw me, and I needed to know more. We met for coffee and she told me they still hooked up occasionally, maybe every 6 months or so, for years. She started crying and hugged me, apologizing and saying she didn't know I'd been his girlfriend that long. So, clearly their friends with benefits relationship never ended, and he'd been cheating on me the whole time we were together. She reassured me that they were always safe, and I didn't need to worry about catching anything, but honestly, I was almost numb. I've been with this man for 4 years. I don't blame her at all. I think she wants to stay in touch, but right now, it's too painful to talk to her. It's not her fault, it's entirely Isaac's, but I can't deal with anything related to him right now. I'm confused as to whether Josh knew about this, but I have a feeling he wouldn't have said anything at dinner that night, if he did. I'm so sorry this update took so long. I broke up with Isaac over text, I know, classy, and told him my best friend would come by to pick up his things. I also took our cat and told him I wanted to keep it. He fought the breakup, saying we could do couples therapy, but I told him nothing could fix 4 years of lies. I'm staying with my best friend now, and we're having serious date nights together. I'm broken, but I know this is for the best, and it would have hurt more to stay. Sorry again for the late update, and thank you all so much for your advice. Update number 3. This is the final update. I wasn't even going to write this, but I think it might be a bit more of a happy ending for some of you, and honestly for me. Josh finally called me last night. At first, I didn't answer, because I was afraid it was actually Isaac trying to contact me through him, but by the 3rd call, I did. This guy was pissed. The first thing he said was, "My name, I'm so sorry." He didn't give me a chance to speak before going on about how awful Isaac is, and how he couldn't believe he'd been best friends with a guy like that for so long. He told me he stopped by my old apartment randomly, which wasn't unusual for him, and was confused when he realized I didn't live there anymore. Isaac had admitted to cheating on me, which Josh didn't know, but had suspected. You all were right. He made that comment to warn me. Some things I hadn't realized were that Isaac was possessive. He wouldn't let me hang out alone with our male friends. He'd always hover around me. Josh told me he let our whole friend group know what Isaac did, and while 2 or 3 are siding with Isaac, what the hell, the rest feel terrible for me. They've cut off contact with Isaac and those couple of friends. Josh told me if I needed anything, he'd really like for me to reach out to him, and he apologized again, saying he should have told me sooner when he thought he'd seen the signs, but he never would have guessed Isaac had been so unfaithful for so long. Anyway, it's over with Isaac. Honestly, that's a happy ending for me. Finally, thank you all for your advice.